Hi, God. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. It's a real pleasure and an honor. You have worked in IP in Israel for several years. You're now currently the owner and manager of the sixth largest patent firm in Israel. How is the current COVID-19 situation impacting the legal sector in general, and which are the major changes you've seen in the last few months?
I think when you talk about legal, you should separate different fields. I think for our field in IP, honestly, I haven't seen much change. Most of the firms we work with continue to work normally. Some of them have shifted their efforts more into the corona, but other fields were non-IP. The courts were closed. We just reopened yesterday. So all the family lawyers, criminal lawyers, all these were hit pretty hard. But in IP, I think for us was business as usual. Even in some areas, we even worked harder last month.
You have a background working in high tech and biotech, actually part of the team that originally created the first smartphone with Nokia. How is the current situation impacting your line of work in particular?
I personally, since I'm a software engineer, I deal with high tech, but at the firm we do a lot of biotech. I think for the moment, all the projects are still going on normally, since companies who relate on R&D, it's usually patents are one of the last things they cut. If I look at the previous big crisis in like 2008, in IP, we were also impacted, but it came pretty late in the game. I think the companies we work with, some of them maybe the smaller one, they still want to do the projects. Maybe they want to pay a little more slowly. But for the moment, the high tech guys, they work from home, but they continue to work.
Have you seen, dealing with many different clients, have you seen any cutbacks on during national phase on which countries they're filing on?
Now it's too short of a period to notice. Maybe the really small unfunded firms, yes, maybe they cut back, but even the mid-size or the small who are well funded for the moments we haven't seen. But 2 months is really too early. I think if you see an impact, it's a year or 2 years.
Israel has a huge high tech scene. Have you seen any of the new inventions, any of those startups, maybe stopping their work, not getting the funding during this time because of the situation?
Some will relate on government funding that goes slower, especially for like initial seed funding. That one goes slower. The others, again, 2 months is too early to say.
So your mother, Paulina Ben Amni, was actually the first woman patent attorney in Israel. Her license number was actually number 49. She was licensed
Yes.
in 1976. So you've been working, been around the world, living in France a little bit, living in California as well as Texas. Um, now growing. I'm sure your mother's very proud. You're growing Ben Ami and Associates, and you do a lot of work internationally. How's the COVID-19 situation impacting international collaboration?
Um, One thing is the immediate impact is there are no more international conferences this year. The major way to develop new relationships is to go and meet out people. INTA was supposed to be in Singapore in April. Was registered for Bio in San Diego in June. There are conferences in November, October. So for the moment, the April and June conferences were canceled. October, November, we'll see. But for the moment, don't have any plans to travel. So I think if you have to establish new relationships, it's going to be harder. Luckily, we've been around the block for a while, so we continue to work with the people we know. So for the moment, we haven't seen any changes, like, reducing the number of national filings. But again, 2 months is too short of a period to gauge any significant change.
Got it. Is there anything else you would like to add that reflects how IP has been impacted by the global reality that we're currently living in?
I mean, in general, the atmosphere is pretty. Some of it is pretty sad. I mean, we had up to 25% of the workforce unemployed. So many people are concerned. Many small businesses, regardless of high tech, many small businesses on the brink of bankruptcy. The government has allocated a lot of significant amount of funds to help, but under 10% of those were released because of bureaucracy. So the general atmosphere is very cautious. But for us, for the moment, and IP in high tech and biotech, it's still working pretty much as normal. Some companies are shifting their efforts more towards Corona solutions or adapting their products to Corona. So a lot of thinking is done into that, which for us is good, which means new patents, new developments.
Patent agents around the world rely heavily on international work, and many of the new inventions and innovations come from Israel. What would you tell, if you had a minute or less, what would you tell the patent agents around the world? What should they be expecting moving forward?
I think development is even more intense in certain areas at this stage. I think in these crisis periods, some people work even harder. In certain areas more intense. We have a few clients who are working really hard on different types of solution and tools for treating with Corona. For example, we have one client who announced a diagnostic solution for Corona in about 2 minutes, 99% accuracy under 2 minutes. So I think if this is commercialized, because a vaccine, we're over a year away, and Corona is going to here to stay for the moment. But if we could diagnose people under 2 minutes, things like international air travel, which for the moment seems very risky. You close an airplane with like 500 people, but if you think the airport has like a Corona gate, before check-in, you go in, you wait 2 minutes, green light, you're okay, can go in, red light, you're ejected, and you can take the plane with 500 people, and they're all certified to be